Hello, welcome to another edition of It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. All right, so this episode is probably going to be a I wouldn't say very quick one. It's going to be a quick one. Um, I am basically going to talk about the state of my Pittsburgh Steelers, possibly um, some boxing news. Yeah, and that should probably do it. So, without further ado, here we go. All right. So, first subject that I wanted to make sure that I tackled was the head coach search for our Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, interviews have already been done for one Mike McCarthy, and then also Brian Flores. And then we did some virtual interviews with Ajiro Ivero. That's a defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Jeff Hafley, who is also a defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. Clay Kubiak, who is I think he's the offensive coordinator. If he's not, he's the assistant offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Jesse Minter, we did do an interview before he got hired with the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, JB and Jared, good luck with that one. Um, um, there was also an interview that we did with Nate Shieldhouse, or House, I'm sorry, not House, Nate Shieldhouse, who is the pass game coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. Chris Shula, who is the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams as well. And then Anthony Weaver, who is the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. Now, I think that he did like a second interview today, which is the 22nd. So, out of these particular candidates, I would have loved to been able to go a little bit further with Coach Flores. But I think Coach Flores actually signed an extension as defensive coordinator with the Minnesota Vikings. So he may be off the table. Now, there are rumors just kind of swirling around saying that he only did the extension if he did not get a head coaching job. So if there is an opportunity to become a head coach, he'll certainly take advantage of that particular opportunity and forego being the defensive coordinator for the Vikings. But out of these other candidates, I honestly think that Chris Shula is probably going to be the more likely candidate. Here's why. There are several reasons why. First, the most obvious reason, family lineage. Chris Shula is the grandson of the iconic coach Don Shula. Okay. For those that need maybe a little bit of history, Don Shula was the Miami Dolphins coach for a very, very long time. As a matter of fact, the iconic Don Shula coached the 1972 Miami Dolphins, who were the only undefeated team, regular season and postseason. So, just in case you needed a little bit of information on that. So, of course, Chris Shula comes from good stock. Also, Chris Shula is 39 years old, which is relatively young for coaching. Now, more importantly, Coach Shula has 10 years experience in coaching. And on top of that, he's actually been able to coach all position groups on defense. And he has an amazing rapport with the players that he actually has coached. So I don't know about y'all, but I think that Chris Shula is probably going to be a shoe-in as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As much as I would love to see Anthony Weaver and then also Coach Flores become head coaches for our beloved Pittsburgh Steelers, I think that Chris Shula is probably going to be the likely candidate. I know how this organization is about legacy hires. So I think that this is pretty much in the bag. I think all Chris Shula has to do is not blow his opportunity to become head coach. Now, of course, I'm getting this information from various sources in the city of Pittsburgh. Not somebody that's on the outside looking in that doesn't do this day for day and doesn't live in the area or anything like that. These are actual people that live in or close to the city of Pittsburgh, and this is their job. This is their literal job, to try to get this information and actually present it out. So I'm going to trust somebody that's actually got boots on the ground as opposed to somebody that's not there and is just going off of quote unquote certain sources. So, again, don't no shade to anybody on ESPN or NFL Network or nothing like that, but I'm gonna trust the guys who actually live there for more pertinent information. Now, having said that, there have already been coaching changes. Coach Danny Smith, who was our special teams coach, I think for maybe the past, I want to say nearly 7 or 8 years, wound up coaching for Tampa Bay. And take two. So as I was saying, Coach Danny Smith, who had been coaching us for quite some time on special teams, and who is a very memorable character in Pittsburgh Steelers lore, has actually gone on to be with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Coach Smith has actually been instrumental in our kick coverages, punt and field goal blocks, and also an occasional touchdown return or two. So his presence is really going to be missed as far as us being able to establish good field position, making splash plays on special teams, and things of that nature. So, all the best to you, Coach Smith. We definitely appreciate what you did here in Pittsburgh. And by the way, y'all, I'm not actually in the city of Pittsburgh. I am, again, a very proud Dallasite that loves his city. He just can't stand his football team. And, I've been a Steelers supporter, a lifelong Steelers supporter, the majority of my life. So that's where that's coming from. Now, because context matters. Now, depending on who we actually hire, things may be a lot different. And having said that, there may be some players that could actually be on a trading block. Now, this particular statement is going to probably shock and appall some of our Pittsburgh Steelers faithful. But at this point, I would not be upset with a trade of one TJ Watt. And the reason, of course, for that is because A, the impact that it actually has on the salary cap. And then B, we actually have a very good unit of pass rushers. And while TJ Watt's absence will definitely be felt, I think that Alex Highsmith has shown more than enough times that he is able to carry the load as main pass rusher. And then when you have gentlemen like Nick Herbig, and then also Jack Sawyer, who was our rookie, that has shown great promise, then yeah, I think that it's going to hurt, but I think that we'll actually wind up being okay. So if that trade does actually happen, I think that excuse me, I think that it will be beneficial to both TJ and this organization. I think that TJ probably needs a fresh start somewhere. And then also, for our organization, we're building a new culture. So, unfortunately, sometimes in part of building that new culture, we have to tear some things down. Now, as far as maybe tearing other things down, I do not think that Cam Hayward will probably be around next season. Um, I think that both him and Connor may be gone. Um, I do not see Aaron Rodgers actually coming back for another season either. Um, and I honestly think I do not think that we're going to hire Coach McCarthy. And to be quite honest with you, him and Aaron Rodgers did have a falling out. Now, supposedly there was some reports saying that him and Coach McCarthy have since made amends, and um, Coach McCarthy has even gone as far as spending time with Aaron at his beach house or whatever. I don't know whether or not that's true, but yeah, if there was a situation to where these two gentlemen fell out and for whatever reason took a little while to kind of get back, I don't want to revisit a situation like that at all. And to be quite honest with you, I think that it's very important. And take two. All right. So yes, not really willing to visit the Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy experience. So that wraps it up in a nice little bow there. Now, also with some of the changes, quite honestly, I appreciate Jalen Ramsey's service, but if there is a way to actually move him and probably get Minka back, I would love to do that. Yeah, Minka's younger. And yes, Jalen has proven to be a bit more versatile, and he's arguably more athletic. Certainly taller. I get it. All of the some of the things, not all of them, some of the things. But I would not be upset if we dealt Jalen Ramsey back to the Dolphins and got Minka Fitzpatrick back. I would love to see that. I think that Minka can do anything that Jalen Ramsey can do. And since he is actually familiar with how the Steelers are able to run their defense, and kind of depending on who gets hired, of course, I think that he can pretty much almost pick up where he left off. Now, what I will say is that we will have to address safety in the event that, of course, Minka does not come back. And then we probably are going to need depth at a nickel corner or cornerback in general. So we're definitely going to need that. I do not think that we keep Corey Trice. Unfortunately, it's just not enough film. Corey, and this is not to discredit him because he's a phenomenal player when he's healthy. But those words, when healthy, it's just not enough. So we're probably going to have to be looking either in free agency again, or we'll probably wind up having to draft another corner. Now, Brandon Echols was actually very serviceable for the most part. So I could see us keeping him, but we'll still need depth. James Pierre is still around, so, that's helpful too. But we definitely need another corner to try to help us out, especially in multiple receiver looks. So, also, with Cam being gone, that leaves a huge hole in the defensive line. I don't know how good the interior defensive lineman class is actually going to be here, But I would definitely. Okay, y'all. Y'all are gonna have to forgive me with the background noise. I'm a real person in a real situation, living a real life. All right. So there may be noises. We have a house that unfortunately is by a major by a major street where we live. I also have I also have loved ones here. I'm not the only person that stays here, so there's going to be that. But I'll do my best to make sure that I just kind of stay sharp, stay on subject, and not let the background noise kind of dictate the show. So, having said that, I think that it's also very important to make sure that we address the defensive line issue. I do not, again, know what type of depth is available for the draft or via draft for interior defensive linemen. I don't even know what type of depth is going to be available for free agency in the NFL. So we'll have to see about those particular things. Speaking of linemen, Broderick Jones is going to be up for a 5th-year extension, which I do not think that the Pittsburgh Steelers will fulfill. Isaac Seumalo is probably going to be gone. He is an aging veteran, and to be quite honest with you, he was in and out of the lineup quite frequently the last 2 years. So we're going to need somebody that's going to be able to fill those particular shoes. At left guard, I think that we should be able to find someone that's talented, or at least solid in that particular position. But left tackle is definitely something of concern. Hopefully, Broderick is able to rehab properly, and we can get one more serviceable year out of him, and then whomever may actually be available either through free agency or via the draft class if someone stands out, we could use to try to replace Broderick. There are other expendable players, but a ridiculous statement, or excuse me, that's subjective. I think a more unbelievable statement is what I would say. Is the fact that for whatever reason, Patrick Queen may be released. That is very much unfounded. And until there is an official press report from the Pittsburgh Steelers organization confirming that, I'm not going to run with that. I think that was actually hearsay from a podcaster who happens to be a former Pittsburgh Steelers player. So shoulder shrug on that. I'm not sure what that's about or what that actually is. And I'm thinking, the main subject that of course everybody's going to be looking at is quarterback. Of course, with Aaron Rodgers assuming not to be coming back, I'm not sure how to approach this. Part of me actually does want to kick the tires on Will Howard. The other part wants to make sure that we have an established veteran leading the helm, because Art Rooney II has mentioned several times in his press conference that he is not planning on quote-unquote rebuilding or tanking seasons to try to find out what's actually available at the high end of the draft. Losing, of course, is not an option. Having said that, so, I think that it's probably best for us to try to find somebody in free agency that is at least solid and that could actually lead the organization from the time being. So we shall see about that. But I am very much interested in seeing what Will Howard does have to offer. Honestly, I think that's actually it for my Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, on to a little bit of boxing news. Now, of course, there is an upcoming major fight with Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez. Of course, Shakur Stevenson is an Olympic silver medalist. He is a southpaw boxer who is a master defensive technician. And what that basically means is it is very hard to hit Shakur Stevenson without getting hit yourself. Teofimo Lopez, although he is the racist face of boxing, and I will not back down from giving him that title, is a very talented and skilled fighter who is very explosive at times, very quick and twitchy, and very unpredictable, most importantly. So I think even though Lopez is immensely talented and, again, very unpredictable, I think that the more defensively responsible fighter is going to be able to time and also manage Teofimo Lopez. And excuse me. With that being said, I think that he eventually frustrates Lopez and maybe walks him into a mistake that changes the fight for both fighters. So, and I'll probably, no, I'm not. I would do a 20 by 20 series with Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez, but to be quite honest with you, I made a promise to myself that I would not help any type of racist fighter at all. So I won't be doing a 20 by 20 on him or Ryan Garcia at all, regardless of who they fight. Now I'll probably do a fighter breakdown, but as far as like a 20 by 20, no. But again, I do think Shakur Stevenson actually wins that particular fight because of his defensive ability, and then also because of him being more defensively sound. You have to have patience. Teofimo doesn't have that. I don't want to say he doesn't have it. I will say that he has significantly less of it as far as patience goes. And you have to have that as a defensive fighter. And again, I just think that Shakur Stevenson is talented and skilled enough to walk Teofimo into a trap. And I think that actually changes the basis of the fight. So if I had to pick, then of course it would be Shakur Stevenson, and I would give it'd probably be close, maybe 7 rounds to 5, or what I was generally thinking was like 8-4 to be quite honest with you. Now having said that, and I really did not want to report this, but apparently former lightweight champion Gervonta Tank Davis, who is on the run from U.S. Marshals for an assault on a young lady at a Miami nightclub, has taken to X, and in doing so responded to a DJ Academics post regarding Shakur Stevenson as the GOAT. To sum this up, basically, basically Mr. Davis did not like what DJ Academics had to say. There was an exchange online, and apparently, of course, this gentleman is on the run from authorities And I guess he seems to believe that the U.S. Marshals, who basically are the best bounty hunters on the face of this planet, will not find you while you're using your Twitter fingers. This is really beyond me. And eventually, I do hope that Gervonta Tank Davis gets the help that he actually needs. But for right now, since he does not want to challenge himself in the art of boxing by just and refusing to fight his contemporaries to prove himself the actual best of his era, he wants to just, he just wants to make his money and go home, or whatever it was that he said. He's not interested in legacy or being the best or being known as the best. He just wants to get the bag and go home. So there probably is not going to be a going home for quite a few years, and there will probably be no bags to grab. I'm going to say this again. It is very sad and unfortunate that this person chooses to completely waste their God-given talent and skills that they've actually built over the years in the gym, and not challenge themselves to be the very best. It's disgraceful, and to be quite honest with you, as a result, I'm sick of talking about them for real. I sincerely hope that you are caught very quickly. You are placed in prison, and that you come out a better person. All right, so getting off that, because that's just a big ball of negativity that I just don't want to be involved in. Hopefully that's going to be one of the last times I ever have to talk about that person. What I will say is this, because I want to make sure that I try to end this show on a more positive note. With the matchup between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez, I think that actually helps with, highlighting the art of boxing, and I certainly hope that it will be an entertaining fight. Speaking of such, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder will probably be fighting rugged veteran Derek Chisora, I think sometime in June or possibly July. No, I'm sorry. It's March. I think it will be sometime in March, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing him back in the ring. And hopefully, after he is able to defeat Derek Chisora, he can move on and then fight Alexander Usyk for it will be the lineal title. I think that he was actually stripped by one of the sanctioning bodies, so it'll probably be the lineal title. So, but nonetheless, I certainly hope that the fight is actually successful. Yeah, I will definitely end it on that particular note, because that was very positive. It is always good to see the Bronze Bomber back in action. And again, with Derek Chisora, it's definitely going to be an entertaining fight. The press conferences will probably also be as entertaining, if not more. Well, all right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. Please support my brothers, Coach 67 Sports TV, who is the best Southern content creator on the face of this planet, has a plethora of shows that you can actually look up here on YouTube and all social media platforms. My brother Jared 11 Green has quality content, such as From a Black Man's Perspective, that actually comes on 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time on Saturdays. And then also the Southern Baller Show on Sundays, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time as well. Please support my other brother, Joe Townsend, who has his own line of adult beverages, Old Hillside Bourbon. Please look his products up on www.oldhillsidebourbonco.com, I believe. Thank you all again so much for tuning in to It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox, and I'll see you guys next time.